Good afternoon, Alaska. The biggest headline that we have right now is the Bering Sea storm that is making landfall. Now, this storm is so big that it's bringing high winds and flooding from today through Friday, so almost a week-long storm. But with all of that flooding, we don't have any crazy temperatures. We have mild temperatures continuing inland. And just looking across the state right now, all these temperatures are very similar across the board in the 40s and low 50s, except, of course, for the North Slope, where they're facing freezing temperatures in Utqiagvik and Dead Horse. But you can just see some of those rainy conditions starting to move on in from Bethel into the interior. Now, this upper level forecast, this is the whole reason why we're seeing such heavy impacts with this storm. You have this low pressure system sitting up north, and then you have this high pressure system just south of Alaska. And as these two storms merge, they're going to pump this moisture through the western portion of the state. And that's why we have such high winds. That's also why we have so much flooding, because these winds are hitting almost perpendicular to the shore. And as that happens, you get lots of coastal flooding, and that's why it's so dangerous. So getting another view of these two pressure systems, there's that high pressure system that I just mentioned, and here's this low pressure system. And you can just see that band of moisture just rolling into the western portion of Alaska. Now, all areas all the way from Dillingham, spanning all the way up north, are facing these dangerous impacts of this flooding. Now, even the interior is going to see some effects from this storm. This includes rain moving into tonight, as well as higher elevation regions seeing some of those heavier portions of snowfall moving in. And that's mostly true for the Brooks Range. You can just see right here our winter weather advisory moving on in. But all across the west, you can already see all of the impacts of this storm. You can see the high winds already moving in from Unalaska, pushing all the way up. We have storm warnings, high wind warnings, and of course, we have our winter weather advisory along with our coastal flooding warnings. So we just have warnings across the board. And the reason why this storm is so impactful is because it's bringing flooding as well as those moderate winds, rain, and snow. Now, this is bringing lots of travel delays as well as closing down portions of the Dalton Highway. But these wind gusts are spanning from 30 to 80 mile per hour gusts. And these flooding levels are reaching from 4 to 10 feet, which is very significant because it's flooding roads. It's also damaging buildings and infrastructure. And of course, that shoreline erosion that we've been talking about in our newscasts very often. So this coastal flooding, you can just see how big those wave heights are. And as that water starts to come onto the shore, that's really damaging those properties as well as homes. And we're also seeing businesses that are being affected. So it's very important to stay aware. We even had those sea levels reaching from 25 to 30 plus feet. So very significant. Those are pretty out there in the ocean. But of course, as they start to move on through with our storm pushing inland, you're going to see more impacts causing more coastal flooding. Now, just looking at our expected rainfall, 1/2 inch in Nome for tonight, but then that's going to increase moving into tomorrow. So like I had mentioned, the storm is going to persist from today moving into Friday, and that's why it's so dangerous. We have these wind gusts bringing gusts up to 50 miles per hour in St. George, but these are going to span, as I had mentioned, from 30 to 80 miles per hour. So it is very significant. It's very important to know this, but our temperatures are still staying relatively normal, spanning from the 50s and the 40s. So not many impacts with those temperatures, which is the good news. But of course, looking at our 7-day locally, we're not really seeing many impacts from this storm in Anchorage, but we're seeing those drier conditions moving in.